Hi everybody, it's Beatle Dave again, calling to you from a very, very sunny Derbyshire in the UK. Now, this week would have been George Harrison's 79th birthday. He was actually born same month in the same year as my late father. So, I've always felt a bit of a connection with George for some reason. But for this video, we're going to be looking at the 1976 album, Best of George Harrison. And the key thing there is it came out in 1976, so I don't think George had any control over what was put on this. Because his contract with EMI stroke Capital stroke Apple had actually expired by then, which is why Ringo and John made sure they'd got their best of sort of albums out while they could still control what was on it. Don't get me wrong, it's a brilliant album. And there's some fantastic songs on this. But the only thing is, for saying George had been one of the, most prolific of the solo Beatles, especially in the, 1970, triple album, and he did the concerts of Bangladesh and stuff like that, Living in the Material World, Dark Horse, and even Extra Texture. But for some reason, EMI, or Capital, I think it was more Capital than EMI, to be honest, decided that the best of George Harrison wasn't just the best of George Harrison, it was the best of George Harrison solo, and then the best of George Harrison's Beatles songs. So side one is the Beatles, and side two is George Harrison, which makes it look like George hadn't really got enough material for his own sort of like best of LP. But if you think about it, he had, hadn't he, at the time. Yeah, that is sort of like a criticism, but then this album wouldn't be what it is if it had been just George Harrison, would it? So I know what I'm on about. So in one way, I do feel sorry for George because when this came out, he got his own 33 and a third, his new record on his Dark Horse label out at the same time, I think. So he's sort of like battling with himself. But of the songs of the Beatles that they put on this, the ones that George wrote, it is a really, really good selection. So remember, side one is the Beatles and side two is George Harrison. All right, so side one, the Beatles, starts off with one of the best songs George ever wrote while I was with the Beatles anyway, Something, which of course is from the LP Abbey Road. So that's from 1969. Then you've got If I Needed Someone, again, brilliant song from Rubber Soul, 1965. Although on it says 1966. Then we've got Here Comes the Sun, again. That was one of the highlights of Abbey Road, wasn't it, from 1969. Then we've got Taxman from Revolver, 1966. Yeah. Think for Yourself from Rubber Soul. Again, they've got this down as 1966, but it was 1965, wasn't it? For You Blue, yeah, 1970 off the Let It Be album. And then it finishes off with While My Guitar Gently Weeps from the Beatles, or the White Album as we'll call it, from 1968. So all them songs, that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so them 7 songs were all, written by George Harrison, but they were recorded by the Beatles and they was produced by the legendary George Martin. So that's side one. And side two, so we're onto George as a solo artist. So side two starts off with My Sweet Lord from the album All Things Must Pass from 1970. So that's produced by George Harrison and Phil Spector. Then we've got the classic Give Me Love, which I always think's a very sort of like underrated song from George. And I mean, it was a hit at the time, but now a lot of people, a lot of like his fans might not really know that song, to be honest. But it's called Give Me Love, Give Me Peace on Earth, isn't it, to get its proper title. That was from the album Living in the Material World from 1973. So that's just produced by George Harrison, isn't it? Then we've got You from the album Extra Texture. Again, lovely song, but the recording that goes all the way back to 1970, I think. Although this wasn't released till 1975, this version. So that was produced by Harrison Spector. But then you got the single Bangladesh from 1971, again produced by Harrison Spector. Then you got the song Dark Horse. I'm the dark horse, running on the dark, dark race course. and obviously that's from the album Dark Horse. 1974, produced by George Harrison. And then the album finishes off with What Is Life, from the album All Things Must Pass, 1970, produced by Harrison Spector. So that's catalogue number on this, by the way. This is the UK version, so it's on Parlophone. So it's PAS 10011, and it's stereo. And the cover is printed by Gerhard and Lofthouse Limited, and it's also available on tape. It says on there. It's fine, I think so. I mean, this is actually, it is in nice condition, and I do think that is actually quite a nice photo of George on the front as well, with one of his cars, because he was a bit of a car fanatic, wasn't he? He loved his Formula One, didn't he, as well? So, like I say, the only criticism is, well, it is a criticism, but it's more of an observation. Is it just made George look like, out of all the Beatles, he was the only one that didn't really deserve greatest hits album, all of his own material, or as a solo artist, shall we say. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And it's got 13 songs on, so but you can't stand it. You'd think it'd be 12 or 14, wouldn't you? Yeah, so that is the back. That's the front. Now with this, you did actually get a nice in sleeve. So if you're saying that there's like only one side is really for George, they've advertised all his LPs on there, aren't they? All Things Must Pass, Living in the Material World, Dark Horse, and Extra Texture. And it'll even tell you the songs that are on it, which seems a bit ironic, really. And then on side 2, you just get, well, on the back of this one, you get another picture of George, which always reminds me, I think that's quite a nice. I think that would have made a good beat. No, the back of it, I think they should have used that like that. So that would have been the front of the cover, and that would have been the back of the cover, and then had the track list in there. I think that would have made it look a little bit, because that just looks a little bit, nothing wrong with that, but that just looks a little bit cheap, doesn't it? Well, to me it does. But then they've gone to the expense of doing a really nice inner sleeve. Now the sound quality on this is absolutely amazing, as you'd expect from EMI or Capitol at the time, wouldn't you? This UK version is a first edition, but it is on the 2-box EMI Parlophone. So you get the EMI records there, not the gramophone car or anything, but then you still get the Made in Great Britain there. It's like I say, silver and black. It's got some a Nicky cut, it says on there. Nicky cut. So you used to get Harry Moss, didn't you? HRT, and then I think that's, was his name Nicky Frost or something like that. He was one of the cutting engineers, wasn't he, as well at the time. YEX 961. So that is side 1, and then that is side 2. Again, it is in really, really nice condition. Like I said, the sound quality is brilliant. It just, it just hacks me off a little bit, because out of all the Beatles, as far as EMI was concerned at the time, or Capitol, or whoever they were, but there it says Nick W. He wasn't the one that was deserving of a greatest hits album all to himself. But this album is still a really, really nice album to have. Like I say, it is a shame. I think really, perhaps George should have looked what was going on. But I do know he's setting up his own Dark Horse record label, wanting, I think his marriage with Patty or something was on the rocks at the time as well, wasn't it? So, if he'd had his eye on the ball a little bit and he could have controlled what went on that, I think that would have been a completely different album. But it is nice to have the Beatles songs on it as well. And then, you say that came out in 1976, by 1981, it had been reissued again on the Music for Pleasure label, or MFP as we called it in the UK. So the catalogue number for this is MFP 50523 stereo. And even on this, it says, If I Needed Someone and Think for Yourself, although they're from Rubber Soul, they've got it as 1966, but it's 1965, isn't it? But that, I know it's pink. I think the back of that doesn't look cheap as that. You see what I mean? That just looks really, really cheap. Front cover doesn't. I mean, that's a worse front cover, but the back is better than that one. This time, they have got a nice picture of George on the front again from the White Album, same as what they did with the Ringo's Blast from Your Past one, wasn't it? You know, they put a photo of them from, 1968. The best of George Harrison, my sweet Lord, something, here comes the sun, and while my guitar gently weeps, it says on the bottom now. Again, spine and everything is really, really nice. But all you got was the, well, this is a CBS sleeve in here for some reason. Don't know why that's in there. Yes, and this is the English one, made in England. So that is side one of the reissue on MFP, or Music for Pleasure, and that is side two. Again, really, really nice condition. Sound quality and everything is exactly the same. The mixes and everything is exactly the same. Although this one is a HTM cut, Harry T. Moss cut in this one. See, some people will collect it just for that because it's Harry T. Moss. Some people say that he was the best cutting engineer that EMI ever had, which, in fairness, it probably was at the time. And the strange thing is, this album didn't sell very good at the time. I mean, it was a moderate seller, but I don't think it sold as much as what EMI or Capitol was expecting it to do, which is probably because a lot of the fans at the time, a lot of George Harrison fans would have thought that they were being cheated with this. So this one, believe it or not, although this is still quite hard to find in anything like, good condition in the UK, that one usually goes for around the £10 to £25 mark. So, that is the original first pressing. Now this one, although this is a reissue and it's on a budget label, goes for roughly the same price. There's not a lot of difference in it, to be honest. Like I say, I do like this album. I just think it is a shame that they didn't make it just all George's songs, solo songs. But then it wouldn't have been. We probably wouldn't be doing this video, would we? So, if you lot guys out there have got this album, or you've got the American version, because I think the American version was the same as that, but it had a slightly different sleeve. And the Australian one had like a psychedelic sleeve, didn't it? George sitting like in the atmosphere, or in the cosmos or whatever. Brilliant album. If you ever on your travels and you dig in your second-hand record shops or your record fairs, always look out for it, because it is, sometimes you can pick it up for around the £10 mark, and it is worth having. To be honest, it is worth having. I'm not slagging the album off. I think it is a brilliant album. I'm more slagging Capitol off at the time for doing what they did. But like I say, it's what it is, isn't it? If you're only a casual Beatles fan, or you're only a casual George Harrison fan, this is good, because it gives you sort of like a bit of a career retrospective up to 1975, doesn't it? Because it's got mainly a lot of his more well-known songs that he did or wrote for the Beatles, and then it's got his the majority of his well-known songs from his solo years up to that point. But as ever, if you have got any comments on this album, please let me know. I think it is. I think whatever version you get of this, if it's that one or that one, I think you will be pleasantly surprised. And at the end of the day, if you're not a diehard fan like me, these compilations are the best way of getting some of the, singles and the B-sides, or album tracks, without having to go out and buy every album. So there's that for it. As always, it's entirely up to you. It depends what budget you've got. If your budget is hundreds of thousands of pounds, you'll go out and you'll buy every single George Harrison solo LP, wouldn't you? Or get the box set. But then even if you get that box set, you won't have them on it, will you? You won't have the Beatles ones on it. So it's one of them, isn't it? It is what it is. I've always liked this album, to be honest. I think this was one of the first George Harrison LPs I bought, and it was this one. It wasn't that one. It was this one. I think I did have All Things Must Pass, and then I think I bought that, and then I think I got Living in the Material World, and then Extra Texture, and then Dark Horse from them, because Dark Horse is quite a hard one to get in the UK. So there you go, the best of George Harrison UK pressings. That's the first press. That is the reissue. So that's on Parlophone, and that is on MFP, or Music for Pleasure. So I hope you've enjoyed that little video. As always, as it says, Beatle Dave. 99.9% of the time, this channel is about the Beatles and record collecting. But from time to time, we do specials on other artists, which I've just done one on Eric Burdon and the Animals. So if you haven't watched that, please watch that. Eric Burdon, Animals, Lovers UK pressing. You know, I will show you all my records. Whatever I've got, I will show you. Bearing in mind, they are my records. You know, I've had to go out and buy these records. Some of them I've from years and years and years. Some of them I've recently picked up in job lots or from record fairs. Or because I'm quite lucky, because like in Derby, we've got a second-hand record shop, and in Nottingham, there's a few decent second-hand record shops now. So, you know, everything I show you, I do own. I don't get presents from Sony or EMI or Apple or things like that. You know, saying, "Oh, Beatle Dave, please, you know, plug our latest product." You know, I wish I did in some ways, because it'd save me a lot of money, wouldn't it? But you know, that's by the by. So, like I say, everything I do show you is mine. You know, I don't go to the libraries or borrow them off other people. You know, every record I show you, I do own. As always, love your records, cherish your records. From time to time, you do have to clean your records, but above all, play your records, which is what I will be doing in a bit. I will probably play these, and that one that I did earlier on. But you know, if you do ever get a chance to find these, and they're under, they're around the £10 mark, maybe up to 15. You know, if you haven't got them, please get them. As always, thank you to everybody that is subscribing. You know, if you like my videos, just hit that, you know, the thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed, just please subscribe. You know, it doesn't cost anything to subscribe. And then once you are subscribed, if you hit the notifications button as well, you will get notifications for when I am doing new videos like this. I do try to do at least one a week. Sometimes it's a little bit more. Sometimes it, you know, it just depends what silly shifts I'm on at work. You know, I do have to go to work to fund my passion of buying records. You know, whatever you do, whether you just buy records or you've got CDs or even music streaming, as long as it's keeping music alive, you know, that is the main thing. I've been collecting for over 40 years, which you will know if you're watching my videos. You know, some of my records are worth a lot of money. Some of them only worth like 50p and things like that. So, you know, it depends what your budget is, doesn't it? And, you know, being a collector, you don't have to have thousands and thousands of records, says it him who has. But, you know, you might just collect like one band, or, you know, you might just collect like 1960s, or, you know, might just collect punk, or you might just collect like rock records. You know, whatever you collect is entirely up to you. Like I say, although this is called Beatle Dave, I mean, charge at the time it is about the Beatles, but it is about record collecting as well. And whatever, you know, as long as people collect, then all this stuff is going to survive, isn't it? Which is the main thing in this day and age, you know, keeping this format going. So to everybody out there in Beatles world, in the VC world, you know, in record collecting world, in YouTube land, you know, thank you for watching my videos. If you haven't subscribed, please do. And until the next video, please stay safe. And like I say, it is really, really nice in Derbyshire today. Once again, thank you to my stepdad, Johnny Sheehan, for buying me this hat. So that's 2 I've done now, Johnny, with this hat on, if you're watching. But until the next time, please stay safe. And just check out your local like areas where you live, because I know there is quite a few record fairs coming up. I missed the one last week at where was it? Matlock, because I couldn't get there. But But just have a look around, and don't forget your independent little record shops. Go in there and support them as well. So till the next time, it's Beatle Dave from Derbyshire saying, cheerio, everybody. Bye bye. And thank you once again for everybody that has been supporting me, and everybody that's going to continue supporting me, and to everybody that's going to think of supporting me. So until then, next video. Cheerio.